Hello folks, Killface of Baylor here. Apologies for not having done as many uploads recently. And apologies if I fumble through this a bit. I wanted to basically give another small physical skills demo as well as testing my new tripod. I just got a tripod in last week. So this is kind of the first chance to use it in a little bit bigger space. This demo may not be as exciting as the other ones. But I started looking at instruments in Celtic Heroes and realizing, it would be cool to actually be able to use them. So I wanted to make a physical skills argument for why we should be able to use some of them main-handed only, instead of two-handed, and for maybe some ways to change them so that they are a little bit more relevant. So here is my thought. Instruments have been carried into battle for a very long time, and while it is true that a lot of instruments required a dedicated operator who did not also primarily fight, there are those like a warhorn that did get used even by people who were planning to primarily be a soldier. And the reason for that was the effects that they had on the people around them, etc. So first of all, we need a decent Celtic Heroes setup. And while I am not exceptionally into medieval weaponry and that sort of thing, and not exceptionally well stocked, I brought things that may or may not actually work. So this is my father's katana. And while it's not a great sword, it's not a terrible one either. He used it to hunt a flock of geese at one point that were terrorizing local children and attacking them. So that I will do a story time on at some point. I was very happy to have inherited this. My father's still alive, but he passed it on anyway. And then, as my other hand, we will use the first sword I ever bought, also quite a cheap sword, and I would be much less happy to go after really anything with this, but here's our stand-ins for main-hand and off-hand weapons. And the question is, can I use these as efficiently, or even close to as efficiently, together, right? And I'm not well trained with swords, and you'll see that as I move them. You'll see that they look rather clumsy in my hands, right? Especially for those of you who actually can use swords well. Anyway, yeah, the question is, how well can I use these, right? Or how well do these sit in my hands compared to, can I hold them and use separate weapons? So let's do this, I suppose. By the way, the katana is faced towards me like this because that is the correct traditional, well, I don't know if correct is the right word, but it's the traditional Japanese way to sheathe the sword. It's the correct orientation of the sword with the blade up, the reason being that when it comes out, it's immediately presenting the edge. Whereas if I face it the other way, I draw it and my edge is faced down instead of faced up the way that I would want to fight with it. Okay, so first of all, when dealing with the fact that instruments currently only affect one person, namely the wielder, or one other person, whoever you play the skill for, and then there's a gigantic cooldown. First of all, if I pull out an instrument, I'm not going to take the time to tune it first on the battlefield. So I feel like there should be a way that when it's in your hand, it can be used more like a kite gets used and less like a weapon or the skills on a piece of jewelry or something like that, just because it would make it more relevant, giving us more options, which is always good, right? And in the case of something like this, so one of these pipes is actually off. But that aside, with something that is this small and this quiet, it makes sense that I would play for one person in particular, right? But what doesn't make sense is that this would be my two-handed weapon on the battlefield. And we don't see a compatriot for it in Celtic Heroes, so it can be pocketed and left out. And we will talk a bit more about the types of weapons that people did bring into battle and the types of weapons that get used in game. So first off, I don't know, you may have already noticed my conch shell, right? This I would actually like to see implemented because I think it would be kind of cool to be able to fish up conch shells, right? Oh, that was sad. Here we go. Ugh. Okay, I'm sorry. Ugh. So that's how it's supposed to be done. Ugh. I apologize. But you can see we've made a significant different amount of noise. I have several different sizes of these, and clearly I wasn't ready for this size. Let's try that one more time. Okay, and you get the idea that this one was a bit louder and it might affect the people around me. And the idea is that when I do that, the people who are with me, right, are encouraged. I've made my presence that much larger on the field, and the people that are not with me are discouraged because, again, I've made my presence that much larger on the field. You know what? I'm going to set these down rather than creating problems for myself. Okay, but I managed to do that one-handed despite the fact that my initial attempts were weak. I apologize. You will hear people showing up. There's a good chance that this will have called people from around the neighborhood. So I hear voices in the background. I expect we'll see them before too long. But that gets to my point. The people around me, all of them, will be affected, right? And even in the case of a full-size horn, I can play it one-handed, right? And I can pick it up and put it down one-handed, and I still have the blade out the whole time, right? It's helpful to have two hands, and that's great, but it's definitely called people from around. People are currently looking in the window. Yeah, let's see if we can let them know they're allowed to come in if they'd like. Nope, they're gonna leave. Oh well, point is, when I blow this, anyone nearby is paying attention. So, my argument would be to make it more like Warcry, exactly more like Warcry, where either you can increase the aggro of opponents, you can boost a stat for everyone in a certain vicinity, something like that, because it's realistic, and what it does is it incentivizes us to have a raider, say you used a horn, the way it's set up now, with a 15% HP boost, as the main hand for a tank, but not the offhand, right? They can still use, say, an EDL shield. I think we can all agree, or at least the vast majority of us can agree, that given the choice between a 15% HP horn and an EDL sword, the tank is normally better off with the horn. Not always, but a lot of times, right? Because the sword is just not going to make enough of a difference in the stats that a tank needs. So I would just like to see that more often. The same thing if, as a low-level mage, I could use, say, a Master's Grimoire and at the same time a 15% flute. That would be great, right? And then all of you are going to talk about, well, what about trying to play flute one-handed? Well, I don't know. I don't play flute. It probably is too difficult. But, yeah, I just would like to see them be useful. And again, I would like to see conch shells be able to be fished up. I think it would be awesome. And maybe even give some sort of boost to fishing or something like that. I don't know why that would happen, but thought it would be interesting. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And as always, feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos of me making, you know, a fool out of myself. And yeah, like the video if you liked it. Share it with anyone else you think may be entertained. If you disliked it, I guess dislike it too, because it gives me the feedback to know what I should upload and what I should not. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day, folks.